everybody. It's 8:04. Sorry, we're 4 minutes late, but a minute early when Ryan adjusted the time to 8:05. We haven't done this in a while, and I was a little rusty, I know for certain. And Ryan was generous enough to, on a Sunday afternoon, to put this together for us as he was out with the family. And I asked him a few hours ago if he could do this. Is there a comment section off to the right, Ryan, that I can't see? Or just got to open my screen, or if you can put it up there. Okay, I see it now. I had to open my screen. So thank you guys for joining in. On this Sunday evening, I'm having a little bit of bourbon, back to enjoying that a little, and I made some mushrooms. A friend of mine gave me. That was quite nice of him. So we're not here to talk about the gun stuff, but just so you guys are aware that, that's still progressing on the appellate court, and we'll deal with that as it comes, okay? So it's not that you just haven't heard anything, but it's that stuff goes slow when it makes it to the appellate court. So, but, we just had our primaries here in Illinois, and we're now rolling into the 2024 general election coming up, and I've spoken at a lot of Lincoln Day dinners. I'm glad to go do that and offer my time anytime somebody asks me to come and talk to them. But the message that I've been talking about a lot is the only conversation, in my humble opinion, that we as Republicans should be talking about is how do we win elections? How do we win elections to get us to the point where we have a voice in Illinois politics? Because right now we don't have a voice. We're in the super minority in the House and the Senate. We have 40 House members out of 118, and we have 19 senators out of 59. So we're in the super minority. Okay. And I, like you, when I started off 4 years ago when COVID crap started, and it progressed me into the political world that I have no desire to be a part of. Zero. I hate politicians. I don't like it. The Republicans probably dislike me as much as Democrats, and I'm okay with that. My beliefs are certainly more in line with Republican ideas, but they're not conclusive. There's things that I have that are differing opinions. But ultimately, what I know to be true is, regardless of the party, that if people are the ones in charge and not these, elite, establishment-minded politicians, Republican or Democrat, that we'll figure out how, as people, to move forward to the best of our ability. So people need to be the ones making the decisions. And when people make the decisions, who the elected official is not as significant. But when we have a disengaged, completely disconnected constituency or citizenry, then these politicians that get elected start thinking this is their own little fiefdom, and it becomes an absolute disaster. That's what I've experienced the last couple of years. I spent a lot of time being, watching and being involved, going to different events, etc. And I had people laughing, going, well, Tommy's becoming part of the establishment. That's crazy. I have no interest in that whatsoever. I don't want to be a politician. We need other people that want to spend their time and energy doing that. That's what I'm looking for, is good, qualified people. But then I started to learn something that I have to impart with you guys. You've heard President Trump, who is not liked by the Democrats or the Republicans. That's really what got me involved in this thought process that I'm in right now, is why doesn't anybody like President Trump? He's an abrasive guy. We all know that. But from a political perspective, nobody likes him. And I'm like, why? And I started to come to conclude that whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you don't want anybody in there upsetting the apple cart. If you're upsetting the apple cart, nobody's going to like you. And I'm like, how is that happening? And he would use, as you guys are aware, President Trump would use the term the swamp all the time. Started back when he first got elected. And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? The swamp. I mean, I don't like politicians in general, and I don't have a real trust for him, but what does he mean when he says the terminology swamp? What was President Trump talking about? So I was always interested in trying to understand that. I don't pretend to understand it in detail at the federal level. I think it's really similar to what I'm starting to figure out here in Illinois. It has to be real similar. And I wanted to impart on you guys some of what I've learned and experienced and figured on this, because if you guys don't start getting involved and deal with this, we are never, ever, ever going to get anywhere. Republicans, you guys, can win in the state of Illinois. They can win. Mathematically, it is an absolute certainty. Don't start preaching to me about cheating and all this crap. I can cuss tonight because I'm talking just as an everyday citizen. I don't want to hear that shit. Does it happen? Certainly. I know it does. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not happening. Of course it happens. But that's not what's causing us as Republicans to lose in Illinois. We're losing in Illinois because our party is an absolute disaster. It's an absolute disaster with no plan whatsoever on how to create a winning solution. None. Doesn't exist. Is there a few people within our party that talk about some pretty good ideas? Yeah. But they've gotten to the point as a collective whole. When I talk Republicans, I'm talking the elected officials in their totality, not one person versus man or woman versus the other. Talking about the caucuses, I'm talking about the state party. When you look at them collectively, they have no freaking plan whatsoever. They're in survival mode at best. And as a result, nobody's going to give them any money. There's no big money people out there that's going to start giving Republicans in Illinois a bunch of money because they don't have a plan. And actually what they're doing in their survival mode is counterproductive to having any chance whatsoever of ever winning elections. And it pisses me off because they don't want to talk about it. They want to talk about who's the most conservative or who's more pro-life or pro-choice or school choice or tampons in the boys' bathroom, all of that stuff, which is worthy of conversation. But all of that shit takes away from the only conversation we should be having, which is how do we win elections in Illinois? That's the conversation. So one of the things that I'm going to ask you guys to do, and I'll get to Chicago in a second, Gail, because I disagree with you. That's okay. I understand your point, though. The thing is we got to have that conversation. So what I want you guys to do with if you have a Republican elected official, the only conversation that you need to insist that they have is how do they help Republicans statewide start winning elections, picking up seats that Democrats hold. Because there are several seats that Democrats hold, even though they got to redraw the maps to their advantage the last 2 cycles. There's still seats we can win. But we don't have the efforts going into trying to win them. So I'm not picking anybody in particular. Let's talk about Blaine Wilhauer. I love Blaine. He's my guy. Chris Miller, Dan Calkins, Brad Holbrook, Adam Nieberg, my beloved guy who I'll talk about some, Charlie Meier, Tony McCombie. The only thing that all of them should be talking about, the only thing, is how do we put together a comprehensive plan to start winning seats in the House? Because if they're not having that conversation, we're done for. And I can tell you they're not having the conversation. And I'll prove my point here in a second. Okay? So, the swamp. Remember the term the swamp. I'm going to get to that. We're in the super minority. And I'm only going to talk about the House of Representatives tonight. Our Senate's actually a little better than the House. So I'm not going to talk about the Senate. But I'm going to talk about the House. Not that long ago, and you guys have seen, if you watch, let me back up. If you've seen, I've been talking on social media a lot about the Illinois Education Association, right? The Democratic Teachers Union. I'm talking about them for a reason. When I'm pushing this stuff out there and you guys see it, there's actually a goal and a path that I'm trying to get to, which is to inundate you guys to the point you're like, what the hell's even going on? What are we talking about? The IEA plays a role in this to keep Republicans suppressed. They do. Anybody that's involved knows. I was talking to a state rep from our area, good one, that said, Tom, if people knew what we knew or what we know about how this works, he says they'd be livid. I said, I know, and I'm trying to figure out a way to help explain it to them so they'll fix it. I can't fix it. He can't fix it. The only people who can fix it is you. So the swamp, right? What does that mean? We're in the super minority in the House. We have 40 House members out of 118. We're in the super minority. They have 78, okay? There's some history to that. And so there was an event recently where there was a particular House member, Charlie Meier, who's my House rep, who was trying to defend himself against the fact that he takes more money from the Democrats than anybody in the state legislature. And I want Ryan to play this clip for you because this is going to set up what I want to try to understand, okay? Listen close, and I'll come back to this recording a couple more times. Go ahead.
continue to get outspent. And I kind of gained a little bit of Democrat support here and there. We have to work with Democrats because our 40 votes don't get us anywhere. You know, when I went in, we had 54 Republicans. We're down to 40 Republicans. We continue to lose elections. We continue to get outspent. As all this goes on, I want to say a couple of things about IA money. I've gotten a lot of IA money. $100,000 IA money that I've gotten has gone to the House Republican organization to elect Republicans. It pays my dues. We have 8 people in the House Republican organization that don't pay dues. Nothing to help elect other Republicans. I don't think that's right.
Okay, guys, we're going to post this video or that audio out on social media. And after we talk about this, there is so much to unpack in that audio. So much to unpack. Where Mr. Meier is talking about, one, he says that he takes IEA money, $250,000, and that he uses that money from the Democrats to pay his dues into the House Republican caucus. I'll talk about that in a second. He admits that he uses Democrat money to pay the dues, and he says that that money is used to elect Republicans. Remember what he said? We use that money to help elect Republicans. That is an absolute 100% lie. Take that to the bank. That money that's being contributed is not, oh, that's Ryan, not being used to elect Republicans. And then he says there's 8 other members who don't contribute dues. You're right, they don't, because they understand what it is I'm going to explain to you now on why they don't contribute dues to the House caucus. Okay? Each of your Senate and House of Republicans have a caucus. Okay? The caucus just means it's an organization that's supposed to be for the purpose of helping promote Republicans, get Republicans elected, promote Republican ideas. It sounds pretty good, right? They collect money. They get money from a variety of sources. A lot of different sources give money. They don't give very much to Republicans compared to the Democrats in Illinois because people know that the House Republican organization is a disaster. But one of the places they get money from this caucus, I'm going to call it, okay, House Republican organization, is from elected Republicans in the House. Charlie Meier is one of them. He gives money, dues, to this caucus. Now, he told you $100,000 that he's given them. Ryan, pull up the first spreadsheet. I'm going to give him another lie. Highlight into that, Ryan, on the left-hand column. That's the amount of money that Charlie has given the House Republican organization. That one there. Go to the bottom. Zoom into that number so they can see it. It's $151,000 that Charlie has given to the House Republican organization since he's been in office. Not 100,000, it's 150. So he contributes money to the House Republican organization, okay? His dues. Now, if those dues were being used to promote Republican ideas, help get Republicans elected, if that was really what it was used for, you guys, then how did we go from over 50 Republicans in the House since Charlie started to now only 40? We've lost 14, give or take, House seats since Charlie's been in office. But he's telling you in this audio that his money is being used to help elect Republicans. It's bullshit. It's not true. They don't do that. And let me tell you why they don't do that. Because they don't have a plan and they don't take in enough money to help get Republicans elected. They don't have enough money to do that, okay? Ryan, go to the last page there. I'm going to talk about the HRO a little bit. Okay, here, guys, is an example of the HRO money, okay, from 2020 through the 2022 election cycle. So 2 cycles, you know, your House members are every 2 years. So in 2 cycles, the HRO took in $4 million of funds, okay? Not all of that came from the elected officials, but a lot of it did. Look at what that money got spent on in those cycles, and look how much money they spent trying to elect Republicans against Democrats. Republicans against Democrats. They spent $48,000 in 4 years, guys, trying to get Republicans elected against Democrats. Most of that went to John Cabello in 2022 or 2020, 34,000 for John. The rest of those $1,000 payments they made to those other people running against Republicans, that was just a little token. Let me tell you what that was for. They would just say, oh, here's a little bit of a token money. So if you do happen to get lucky and get elected, we're not really going to support you. If you get elected, don't forget us, and maybe you'll pay some dues to us, because we're always worried about those dues. How about 2022, the last election cycle? You remember Darren Bailey was your governor candidate. I was the House or the Attorney General. How much money did the HRO spend trying to get House members elected against Democrats? Zero. They didn't spend a damn penny. So when Charlie Meier says to you, or any other House member says to you, we donate money to the House caucus because we want to let them use it to help get Republicans elected, it's a lie. Not only do they not use the money for that, they've lost 14 seats since Charlie's been in office. So of course they're not using the money for that. That's why the 8 members that Charlie is criticizing, because Charlie's a rhino, those 8 members don't give money because they don't want their money wasted, because they know it's not being used to try to help get Republicans elected in seats that we might have a chance to win. They don't do that. So what do they do with the money that they collect from all of these people? Charlie Meier gave $150,000 over the course of his political career to the House Republican organization. And you need to ask yourself, this is critical, you guys, why did he give them that money if not to help get other Republicans elected against Democrats? What was he doing it for? Go back to the first spreadsheet, Ryan. Right there in the middle, you guys. Right there in the middle. See that $203,000? In 2018, Charlie Meier had an opponent in a primary. Don Moore was he's a citizen of Charlie's district who is a Republican that decided he wanted to run for office and try to contribute to the Republican Party. Okay? He wanted to try. The House Republican organization that Charlie gives money to came in and donated $200,000 to Charlie to defend him against his primary opponent. So when Charlie lies on his thing saying, I gave that money to help elect Republicans, it's a freaking lie. He gives them money as a quasi-insurance policy. So if he draws a primary opponent, they'll come in here and defend him and fight off another fellow Republican to save the swamp. And Charlie got $203,000 in 2018, $50,000 more than he's given them. That's the only reason that they donate these dues at this point in time to the House organization, is to protect the ever-shrinking group of establishment people that have caused the destruction of our party over the last 20 years. So they're fighting to control it for themselves, you guys. That's all they're trying to do. So when you're going, why can't our party win? Is because the very ineffective members of the House that have been there for a long time are protecting themselves with money that they're collecting and then using it to fight off other grassroots citizens that think, hey, I want to get involved because my party's not winning. That's what Charlie's doing. Now, here's another important piece for you. Remember when Charlie said that the Democrats, the teachers union, pays his dues? Remember that? Go to the last section there, Ryan, and break it open over the last column. Open that so they can see it. Guys, here is the contributions that Charlie Meier has gotten from the Democratic Teachers Union over the course of his political career. $240,000. So Charlie gets the money from the Democrats. He uses the money to give it to the House Republican organization. And then if he draws a primary opponent, the House Republican organization will come in, just pound that citizen to the ground with all their money and protect Charlie. So the Democrats are making sure through their contributions to Charlie that he'll never lose a primary to an average everyday citizen because they're going to protect him. And why do you think the Democrats are protecting Charlie? Because he voted for the biggest tax increase that we've had in Illinois history. He voted to double the gas tax. He didn't promote and support the Invest for Kids, which the teachers union didn't want. And he stays quiet. He doesn't get on a video like I'm talking to you now, trying to help you understand why Republicans can't win. Because if Charlie tried to be a real Republican like you deserve, he's not going to get that money from the Democrats to pay to the House Republican organization to fight off another fellow citizen. And he's going to lose his cushy $120,000 a year public taxpayer gig to drive around and act like he's doing anything important. And in the meantime, the House Republican organization allows our legislature to go from 50-something Republicans to 40. Guys, that's what's going on. It's what's going on right now. The Democrats want people like Charlie Meier in office, and they'll finance him to keep people like you out of office. And nobody talks about this. When I started talking about this, I get calls from Republicans at the state level across the state going, Tom, what are you talking about this for? What are you picking on Charlie? I'm not picking on Charlie. I don't care about Charlie. I care about Republicans winning elections. And this ruse that you see here is why we don't win. Because let's say that Mr. Moore was a good I don't know Don very well, but let's say he was a good qualified candidate that could come in here and really help our party statewide. Democrats don't want that. They don't want that. The House Republican organization doesn't want that, because you're going to get more talented people coming into the politics of our state. They're going to lose their role. The ones that have allowed us to go to the superminority. They're fighting for their lives in the superminority, using Democrat taxpayer-funded money to protect them. Go back to that one there, Ryan, with Charlie. Go back to that screen, please. Go to the center. So Charlie got $200,000 just from the House Republican organization to fight off Mr. Moore. He got other money from other establishment-minded people, but don't worry about it. Look how much money Mr. Moore, just a hardworking, everyday citizen, had to try to compete in this election. Scroll down a little, Ryan. You got to scroll down. It's in the center, right below your cursor. Look at that, $10,079. Poor Mr. Moore had 10 grand to fight against the Democrat teacher union funded House Republican organization where Charlie paid his dues with. They funneled it back to Charlie so he could fight off Mr. Moore, who had 10 grand, just an average everyday guy wanting to try to help his fellow citizens. And establishment Charlie, who has been involved in politics and watched our party get destroyed for the last 14 years, protected him. Okay? That's what happens that's what's going on, you guys. And it's not just Charlie. I know it's not just Charlie. It happens at every level. Go to the next tab, Ryan. Here's another one for your example, guys. And again, I'm just picking them at random. I'm not picking on a politician. This is Noreen Hammond. Miss Hammond is the assistant deputy leader of the Illinois House organization, okay? And she collected, or she paid in, the first column is how much money she paid to the HRO in her career. How much is that number, Ryan, at the bottom? 300-some thousand? Bottom left. Now your cursor's way over there. To your left. Yeah, blow that up. Ryan's audio is having a problem, guys. Sorry. I want you to see I know the numbers, so I can tell you. Can you guys hear me okay? If you can't hear me, let me know. So Noreen Hammond gave $300,000 to the House Republican organization, okay? She drew a primary opponent, and she had to run in a primary. Okay, thanks, Jenny. So she had to run in a primary. And in the center, she got $400,000 from the House Republican organization to fight off her primary opponent, Mr. Griffith. Okay? So where to go, Ryan? I think we're losing Ryan. I might have to freewheel it now. He's coming back, guys. Hold on a second. It's you. So I can freewheel it now. So that spreadsheet just showed you. So when Noreen Hammond, guys, I'm having me some mushrooms too. She paid in 300 grand plus some change to the HRO. Again, according to Charlie Meier, that money gets used to help Republicans win. It's bullshit. Then she drew a primary opponent, and the HRO dumped 400,000 in for her to fight off Mr. Griffith. You know how much money Mr. Griffith had to try to compete? About 30,000 bucks. 30,000 bucks. And guess where over 200,000 of Noreen's money came from to pay her dues to the HRO? If you're keeping up with me, you already know the Democratic Teachers Union. You guys understand this game that's going on that I'm talking to you about? Does it make sense what's going on? And if you're a Republican that's not part of this swamp, like Blaine Wilhauer or Adam Nieberg, guess what? They don't pay their money into the HRO because they don't believe in the process. They don't believe in this game that's going on. Adam, I use Blaine. Blaine doesn't believe in if somebody wants to run against him in a primary, he doesn't believe that the HRO and the Democratic-backed teachers unions ought to come in pounding on Republicans because they don't care about us. Blaine's an honest man. So when Blaine Wilhauer drew an opponent this last election cycle and Matt Hall was funded by the Illinois Teachers Union, and I can't prove it, and my fellow Republicans that operate at the state level can't prove it, but we think that the HRO was complicit and kind of sat back and said, yeah, go ahead, go get Blaine, go get him because he doesn't give us any dues. Right? They're after him because he won't be part of the good old boys club, you guys. And let me here to tell you, if the good old boys club was in the supermajority winning in the state of Illinois and we as Republicans were in charge, I'd go, well, maybe there's a thing or two I need to understand. Guys, we're in the super minority. We're in the super minority. And somebody's over there saying, I'm not saying what you're saying isn't true. Guys, it is 100% true. And unless you've actually been involved with this process at any level, don't sit over here on the sideline telling me, questioning whether it's true or not true. Because you're the freaking problem. It is 150 million% true. Everything that just got explained to you. And if you're not willing to be a part of fixing that and insisting that they don't do it, then don't even talk about politics anymore, guys. Just quit talking about it. Talk about, things that don't matter and bitch and moan how it's rigged and nobody cares. Go ahead and do that crap. Nothing's going to freaking change. Nothing. You got to stop these games going on from a bunch of losers. The Republican establishment has no freaking idea how to compete and win elections. They're taking penance of money, little bits of money that the Democrats are giving the biggest part of, and keeping themselves elected. And the Democrats want these little group of people to keep getting elected because they know that they're too dumb to figure out how to win elections, guys. Think about it. It's not rocket science. They don't want a new breed of Republicans like Chrissy Mack, God love her, who took Tim Ozinga out in the north. They don't want people like that getting involved in Republican politics. Why? Because they don't want to lose. The Democrats don't want to lose. So they want to keep the super minority. I'm trying to be nice here, you guys, because a lot of these people are good people. They're not bad people. And so when I call them moronic, I'm talking because they're inept at what they're trying to do. Let me use that word instead. The Democrats want these inept super minority as a whole. There's some good ones in there, don't get me wrong. They want them to stay in the super minority. Well, how do you do that? You give them just enough money to be able to fight off fellow Republicans that want to try to get involved that might have a chance. Just fight them off and keep these, inept people in office. Can you understand that? It's really basic human, issues. It's not complicated. And that's why we can't win. We can't win. Again, in the House, if you want the House to win, the House Republicans, and it's not going to happen in 2 years, it's not going to happen in 4, it's going to take time. We need Republicans at every level that are elected in the House, all of them. If you got a House member that's a Republican, you need, I don't care where they're at, there's only 40 of them, you need to get on their ass and you need to insist that they demand that the leadership in the Republican Party start using money to elect Republicans against Democrats and not use the damn money to fight Republicans against Republicans to keep the good old boy there sucking from the trough. Make sense? That's the message that you guys have to get. And don't focus on anything else. And you may not change anything. You're not going to change anything this election cycle. But that's what they rely upon. They rely upon good people such as you that say, oh, this is bullshit. I want to fix it now. You're not going to fix this now because it's been decades in the making. Decades in the making, okay? The 40 House members that are in office right now that have been there for 10 years or more, like Charlie Meier, they all need to go. They all need to go because they're inept. Because if they weren't inept, we wouldn't have went from 54 into the super minority, right? How many of you would have a job if whatever you do was so poor performance that you went from 50 to a 40? And I'm just making the numbers up. You know what I mean? You'd all get fired. Got to fire them all. So my good old buddy Charlie Meier, who's my rep, here's what's going to happen in my district. If somebody good and qualified, and it ain't me, but let's just use me as an example. I would be 100 times the state representative that Charlie Meier would ever be. Because you know what I'm focusing on? I'm focusing on how Republicans statewide win every office. That's what I'm working on. My vote in the House of Representatives, I'm one of 40 out of 118. My vote doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot, right? Democrats can do what they want. I'm focusing on winning. That in and of itself makes me exponentially better candidate than Charlie. But let's say I decided in 2024 to run against Charlie, hypothetically. You with me? You know what's going to happen? The House Republican organization that Charlie funnels Democratic money to is going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to protect Charlie Meier against me. Why? Because they want Charlie in there. Because he's inept like the rest of them. That's what they want. The Teachers Association, you know they're going to protect Charlie over a guy like me. They hate my guts. Because I don't think they should be involved in Illinois politics at every level. They should focus on educating our children and stay the hell out of politics. That's what I think about the IEA. They wouldn't like that. But leave the IEA out. We can understand the IEA. The House Republican organization, those are supposed to be our people as Republicans, right? You're a Republican. I'm a Republican. They're for us. Bullshit. They're for themselves. And so, again, let's say it's not me. Let's say it's another good qualified candidate. Mr. Moore, again, decided to run. He tries to do it. The House Republican organization is going to come pounding like they did against him in 2018, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to protect the guy that sits there and takes Democrat money and has watched our House go from 54 to 40. That's why we, as Republicans in Illinois, can't win shit. Right? That's why we can't win shit. Because they are in self-survival mode. They're fine in the super minority. They're scared to death to try to fight for you. They don't want to lose their... Charlie gets $120,000 a year for working 3 days a week for 5 months, and he reimburses himself $10,000 or so in travel expenses to drive to every chicken dinner in the district to act like he's representing you. You think he wants to give that up for the good of the people of this state? Hell no, he doesn't. He doesn't want to do that. It's a great gig for him. And you got a guy like me who makes a whole lot more money than $100,000 a year would have to give that up to go be an elected representative and do the right thing to try to help people make a better state for our kids than we have right now. Now I gotta fight Charlie. I gotta fight the machine that protects guys like him. And the only people that can fix that, are you. You have to put an end to it. Just like when I was preaching 4 years ago about how the mask mandates were bullshit. Remember that? I got on this video and I just said, bullshit, it's bullshit, it's bullshit. And eventually when you all got enough and said it's bullshit, it came to an end, right? That was because of you. I'm just a guy running his mouth trying to tell you this is the freaking game. Go fix it, because you can fix it. I can't fix it. You can fix it. You put an end to it. It makes sense? So that's what I got for you. That's all I got. If you got one of the 40 House members that's a Republican right now, you're in their district, you get on their ass and you tell them, quit fighting against fellow Republicans in primaries, quit fighting to defend your little world here, and use that money to help get Republicans elected in Democratic seats. And if you don't do that, we're going to run your ass out of office. You with me? Let me ask you this. Charlie Meier gives all this money to the House Republican organization, right? To help get Republicans elected. Bullshit. It was to protect him. Do you think if the House Republican organization said we're no longer going to use our money to defend incumbent Republicans against Republicans in a primary, you think Charlie'd still give them all that money? If he really was going to use to win a House seat up in Will County, someplace that we need as Republicans to pick up? No. Because Democrats aren't a risk to Charlie Meier in the 109th. A good Republican primary opponent would be a risk for Charlie, not a Democrat. A Democrat's not going to win that because it's probably 80-20 Republican. But Charlie, donate some money, and that money can be used to try to win a seat in Will County. Do you think Charlie Meier gives that money? There's no freaking way he gives that money. He only gives that money to the HRO, House Republican Organization, the caucus, because he knows that if he draws a primary opponent, more qualified or not, they got his back, and he keeps rolling on his 120,000. And it's not just Charlie. There's a lot of them. Again, I use Noreen as an example too. That's the game, guys. Make sense? Any questions before I go? I got a little bit of bourbon left, but you guys got to understand that. If you've never understood a freaking thing I've said for 4 years, you got to get that. Because if you get what I just explained to you and you go out here and you start making it change, the Democrats are going to be shaking in their freaking boots because they know that's the only way Republicans are ever going to become an effective part of government in Illinois anymore, which is why the Democrats give so much money to the idiots that are left. Come on, guys, figure it out. Let me see. Oh, there's my girl Angela Evans. Angela's got a good example. Angela's down here in my part of the world, and she ran in a primary against Mr. Severin, State Representative Severin, who's also takes a lot of money from the Democrats, gets a lot of money from the House Republican Organization, etc. It's Senate. Dave's the same thing. Again, I don't have a problem with Dave personally, but Angela just experienced. Angela, I wish you were here to talk. Just experienced what I'm explaining to you guys. Just explaining to you guys. And all of it, because right now, let's say that there was a race that we as Republicans wanted to try to win against what? A Democrat, not a fellow Republican, a Democrat. You know how much money they got? Not much, a couple $100,000, because they blew it all protecting their own. Yeah, they protect their own with their money. They don't win races against Democrats, okay? But yeah, Angela, thanks for pointing that out. You exactly were a perfect example of that. Carolyn, my girl Carolyn's here. She says we got to start at the grassroots level. Got to have more votes. Don't disagree with you, Carolyn. That's another conversation. It's similar, but it's different about how do we win against Democrats. You realize nothing I've talked about tonight is how do we win against Democrats? Because that's a separate conversation for a separate day. At the end of the day, that's the conversation that matters. How do we win against Democrats? But before we can really talk about, Carolyn, how do we win against Democrats? We got to figure out his grassroots, because I remember when I was going to a lot of events and people were saying, oh, Tom, he's establishment now. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm a trailer park guy. I'm freaking grassroots as they come. I was wanting to understand how this works. Us grassroots people, it's everyday people like us. The establishment, the Charlie Meiers of the world, or the Tony McCombies of the world, they don't want us involved in politics. Because you know what? There are talented people in the grassroots that say, hey, you guys haven't done a very freaking good job and you ain't been winning. We know how to win. We want to try to win. What's that do? It takes the establishment out of the freaking game and they lose their job. So they're going to fight you every step of the way. You grassroots, all of us. Carolyn, I said you grass. I'm talking to you, honey. They're going to fight you every step of the way because they don't want you involved. Because if you get involved and you're successful, their ass is gone. But yeah, once we get this crap done with our party, then we got to have the real conversation is how do we beat Democrats? I know how to beat the Democrats. It's all a math game. It takes a lot of hard work, and yeah, it's going to take some money, but we can't even ask people for money right now because they think our party is a bunch of idiots. Let me see. Oh, Phil. Yeah, there was a Republican up in Phil Nagel, guys. He's running. Phil's a great guy. If you can help Phil Nagel out and you're in his area, help Phil out. Phil, I guarantee you, has been involved in this, as a grassroots man trying to understand and get involved in politics. The establishment's been beating on him every step of the way because they don't want him involved because they can't control him and they would lose their role. But Phil Nagel knows, I guarantee you guys. Yeah, my girl Jacqueline up there. Jacqueline, she's a freaking beast right there. It's talking about Illinois Sunshine. If you go to illinoissunshine.org, it tells you where all the money's at. Those spreadsheets that I just put up there, showing you where Charlie gets all of his money from the Democrats and he funnels to the HRO, so they funnel it back to him and protect him. That's all on the Illinois Sunshine, guys. It's all public information. But you guys are busy people, raising kids, having jobs. I know it's tough. I spend a whole lot more time than I probably should breaking this stuff down. But I'm glad to do it because I know that if I don't do it and, my kids and grandkids, they're going to be screwed because all of these people are running our country and state in the ground. But again, right now we're just talking about Illinois. Let me look a couple more questions. Somebody says there's no more trust anymore. Guys, I'm going to say this with all due respect. There's never been trust in it. There's never been trust in it. You know what there's been a little bit more of before that we don't have now? Is public engagement. When there's public engagement and you guys actually pay a freaking attention to what's going on, politicians have a tendency to be more honest because it's human nature. If nobody's looking, they're going to do more stupid shit than they'd otherwise do if you weren't if you're looking. So I'm not being disrespectful when you say, oh, there was more trust before. No, there wasn't. More people were watching, dear. And when more people are watching, it works. Now they don't think people are watching. I mean, again, I've got my own rep right here in my district. You guys got me on a roll. I'm only going to talk a few more minutes because it's Sunday night. I was at my own Lincoln Day dinner in Bond County, Illinois. We got 16,000 people in this state or in this county. It's little. I have little use for our chairman of our central committee. She took more money from the Democratic Teachers Union, anybody, but so be it. I met there and I'm having a conversation. I get to speak at our Lincoln Day dinner for 5 minutes because, whatever. I said, how many of you in here know who your local state rep is? There's 50, 70 people in the room. 3 or 4 or 5 raise their hand. Charlie's sitting in the room. They don't know. I said, okay. How many of you know that, and these are Republicans, I know most of them, they're good people. I said, how many of you know that your own rep, his biggest financial contributor ever is the Democratic Teachers Union? They looked at me in disbelief, but they knew I wasn't going to lie to them. It's not my nature. These people are my friends. I said, Teachers Union, biggest contributor. They were shocked. Then I said, it's public information. So getting back to it, you guys aren't paying attention. Start paying attention, they'll miraculously get a lot more honest. Or you'll run their ass out of office and you get somebody who is. Okay, I'm about done. Jenny, I'm not sure what I responded to, honey, but I know there's no disrespect. If you thought that I thought there was, I apologize. It's not. I'm just on one of those rolls. Yeah, you guys have probably seen enough. But you guys remember Blaine Wilhauer from the 110th, used to be my state rep until redistricting. Now I got beloved Charlie. Blaine drew a primary opponent He didn't get money from the HRO because he doesn't blow money. He doesn't send them money because he doesn't buy into this good old boys club. Blaine's a beast, you guys. Yeah, I'm telling you, he's fighting for people. He drew a primary opponent from a Republican that was financed by the Democrats, and Blaine still got almost 80% of the vote, right? So, because people were paying attention, and we made sure they knew the Democrats were financing Matt Hall. So I don't believe our people go for this once they know about it, but they have to understand it, and then they don't believe it. A lot of people don't believe that Charlie Meier is bought and paid for by the teachers union, because Charlie goes to every chicken dinner, every one of them. You know, he goes to every little event in the district, stops by, "Hi, nice to see you." Glad handing. You guys know what glad handing is, right? Because he realizes it's kept him in office for 13 years while the party's been destroyed. And it's men like Charlie who have caused it to be destroyed because of their lack of effort, their lack of talent, lack of initiative, and being in bed with the Democrats. Again, the Democrats want Charlie Meier in office because he's not a threat. A threat to what? A threat to Republicans start making some headway back, because 20 some years ago, Republicans controlled this state, you guys. I mean, a lot of you are my age, younger or older might remember that. Republicans used to control this state. There's a lot of reasons we don't anymore, but to get back, to go where we can get back in control, we don't need men like Charlie Meier. We need fighters. We need people to tell the Democrats, take that money and shove it up your ass. I don't want it. Because that's what Blaine Wilhauer told him. Shove that money up your ass. Don't give it to me. Guess what? Blaine still wins. And Blaine speaks his mind, and he fights for you. Remember, you guys know what the Invest in Kids Act is? There was a tax relief program in Illinois, Invest in Kids, where people could donate money, get a tax deduction, and children who couldn't afford a private education could get a private education. That's an oversimplification, but it's kind of it, okay? Guess who doesn't like that program? The Democratic Teachers Union. They don't want money being donated to send kids to private institutions. That's a threat to the Democratic Public Teachers Union. Okay, you with me? Got it. Charlie's biggest contributor is Democratic Public Teachers Union. Almost all Republicans, not all of them, but almost all of them, but a couple, signed on to support that bill, to keep that tax program in place. Charlie did not. Why do you think he didn't? He'll give you some bullshit if you ask him, but the reason he didn't is because he gets $250,000, $40,000 from the Democratic Teachers Union over his career that he needs. He needs that money to pay his dues to the HRO. So if he draws a primary opponent, the HRO and the Teachers Union will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting him off so he can keep his little cushy job. Guys, that's the swamp. That is the frickin' swamp. That is the swamp that President Trump has been telling us about for 8 years now. I finally understand it. I need you guys to understand it. And I need that to be one of the primary points in your mind of how do we get rid of this stuff. So any of these 40, if they're not on board with helping elect more Republicans, so maybe we can get to 42, 45, 50 Republicans in the House. If they don't want to help you with that, send their ass home, because they can't do anything else. So 2026 is not that far away. Somebody's going to primary Charlie Meier in my district, and I'm going to help them every chance I can to send him packing, because I can't preach to you guys on this little live stream here and not do it myself. I got to do what I'm asking you to do, which is send your Republican legislator home if he's not helping grow the party statewide. That's their most important role right now. Okay? Love you guys. Have a good night. I'm going to drink my bourbon and heat up my mushrooms. Thank you. Take care.